Hey everyone, welcome back to Verified Gains. Hope everyone had a good week and a good weekend so far. It's been a while. The last video was on the 11th, and I've been a little bit busy with other things going on in life. So, glad to be back. Hope you guys are all staying. If you guys have not subscribed yet, please do so. And I have a lot of updates today. So we're going to track back to October 11th, which is the last time that I posted the video. And we're going to review what's happened so far. All right. So let's dive right in. So there's the Bitcoin chart. And on October 11th, I said, okay, now that we've broken below $112,000, which is basically filling this long wick to the bottom. Now the next stop is going to be $110,000. And initially it looked very good because we had a very good bounce back to the upside. However, that was quickly broken, right? So that was quickly broken. And we had consecutive days of red candles where we eventually broke down below $110,000. And in my previous videos, I also said, don't worry about this particular doji star pattern because we don't really have to retest it. Well, technically, we did not stop there, right? So we actually broke down below and ended up retesting $106,000 while forming a long wick to the downside with a low of $103,000. So what is that pertaining to? Well, I tried to look back and there wasn't really anything that had to be retested, you know. If anything, we have this problematic red candle right here around $98,000 extending to, but it actually did not end up going down below $100,000, which was a relief and ended up holding quite well above the $106,000 support line with a retest of 110,000, another retest of the support line, and so far we've been resuming upwards. Now, let's zoom out a little bit and let's take a look at this white trend line that I've drawn. Now, this extends all the way back to November of 2022. Now, if you guys recall, and actually this is, way before I started this YouTube channel, but my Instagram channel, I certainly talked about this, how, we should start accumulating. You know what? Scratch it because that's actually 2023, my fault. So this line that extends all the way back to November 2022, that was actually the bear market low. Okay, let's just put it that way. And if you look at it, we've actually been, and by the way, this is on a logarithmic scale on TradingView. For me, this is the best way to view the Bitcoin chart just because most of the price action is exponential. So when I put it to logarithmic, it has a more linear trend, which is easier to interpret and analyze. And, so far, the Bitcoin price action has been adhering well to this trend line, which has been going on for 3 years now, nearly 3 years. And here we are, 3 years into the cycle, still retesting this white trend line. Now, we're currently on the underside of the trend line, so it's a little bit bearish, and we have to be patient. We have to be patient until we break above this white trend line. And certainly, it's not our first time being on the other side of the trend line. So here, most recently in April, that was around the big tariff talk, if you guys remember. Here back in 2023, leading into Q4, 2023. And actually, this is the part where I was going to mention. So on my Instagram page, basically, I was saying, look, December of 2023, November of 2023, that's going to be a great place to accumulate. Actually, you know what? Guys, I apologize. I keep confusing the date. So, yeah, if I had to recall, it was 15 months prior to the halving date. So that would actually put it around this time. Sorry about the confusion. So it was actually, yeah, December of 2022 when I started accumulating more Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. That's right. Okay, now I remember. Sorry, guys. It's been a while. And certainly we'll talk about that strategy in the on the next cycle, but that's not until 2027. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But anyways, I digress. So the point being, today, it's a good day so far, but we cannot be sure until we break above the white trend line. Okay. So that's what we're really looking forward to this coming week. Now, from a technical perspective, there are two things going on that worries me a little bit, and one positive thing perhaps. So we'll start with the positive. So there's a long wick to the upside, and what's happening is currently we're trying to fill that with real bodies. On the flip side, the outcome from this dip previously was another long wick to the downside. So do not be surprised if we retest $103,000. Do I want that to happen? No. But that's what the chart is showing me. Okay. So if we eventually run away and do not retest this right now, it's possible that we retest it once the bear market is here. Same thing with this. I would consider that a relatively long wick to the downside, and it is currently touching the support line at $106,000. So don't be surprised if we somehow, for some reason, retest this and or retest the $103,000. Okay. So from a macro perspective, what's been happening? So number one, this past week we got the inflation data, which I thought was actually bullish. So the inflation was slightly lower than previous and predicted. And really, the federal chair could make whatever he wants out of the inflation data. I think what's more important is the upcoming uh, the Fed press conference on the 29th, right? So that's happening in 3 days. And many people are predicting a federal interest rate cut. I think it's going to happen, whether that's 25 basis points or more. All in all, I think it's bullish because if we lower the interest rate, that means more borrowing, and people tend to spend that money into risky assets. So that is my prediction. And with the interest rate cut, the Bitcoin price will likely go up from here. So my prediction is, Bitcoin price by the end of next week, hopefully we're near $117,000, not the other way around. Um, what else? So gold really has been the hot topic, right? So, people are lining up for hours to buy physical gold, which is great. And I'll talk more about my bear market hedge strategy, which is going to involve gold, right? So right now I'm not buying gold, but I think it's a great asset if you guys are interested. Now, we've had this long consolidation. Actually, it even traces back further. And then we had this sharp move to the upside starting the month of September. Now with the local top just last week, and a drawdown. Now, once they say, Bitcoin is digital gold and supposedly goes hand in hand with physical gold. Well, if that is the case, then this type of sharp movement to the upside is what a lot of people are expecting to happen to Bitcoin as well. And now that gold price has retraced a little bit and starting to consolidate, it's very possible that people are going to take the profit from the gold and start rotating that into a digital form, such as Bitcoin. So we'll see if that's true. Another possibility is people are going to keep their gold, okay, but basically they're not going to buy any more, and they're going to spend the rest of their liquid asset to buy something like Bitcoin to diversify a stable asset. I mean, would I really identify Bitcoin as a stable asset just yet? No, but you can also think of it as a hedge against inflation. So people might be interested in diversifying their portfolio in that manner. So yeah, I thought this was interesting. Oh, by the way, I actually want to talk about a couple more things on the Bitcoin chart. So number one, let's take a look at some of the indicators. So M2 money shift, I'm not even going to change the days because really what I'm just looking for is the M2 money shift going up any further? And the quick answer is no. So it pretty much peaked over here. If that is true, then just going by the M2 money supply theory that we had talked about before, where it highly correlates with the Bitcoin price, it looks like maybe the top is going to be around first or second week of December. Okay. Um, One other thing, Pi cycle. I say why not? By the way, I was reading some interesting opinions and watching some interesting videos on how the Pi cycle top indicator is no longer valid. There's a low likelihood that it will ever trigger during this Bitcoin bull cycle. And, I see their point. I see their point. Basically, there would have to be some sort of explosive exponential movement to the upside for the Bitcoin cycle top indicator to trigger. So I see what they're saying. If it just turns out to be the slow sort of movement and then fizzles out, yeah, even from a mathematical point of view, I just don't know how it would ever trigger. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's what we've said in the past, and it's still triggered. So for now, I don't want to, make that assumption. I see their point, but I'm just going to keep paying attention to it just in case. Okay. Let's finally look at Solana and their meme coins. So Solana, right now we held above 180 pretty well. So I really like the support line. It's been tested so many times during this bull cycle, starting from March of 2024. And if you look at it zoomed out, then we have this long time consolidation. And all we're now just waiting for is another leg up. So if because this consolidation phase has been for such a long time, I feel like if there is another leg up, it's going to be a really significant one to the upside, not just something that just sort of increases a little bit and then consolidates. I think once we explode out of this channel, which actually extends from 120 to 260, the next leg up might be, something on a different scale. Like I'm talking about, we're now thinking way past like 500, okay? But anyways, I try not to do any price prediction because it rarely works out. It rarely works out. And in my old videos, I talk about why I don't necessarily do price prediction. Basically, long story short, there's no comparable model or industry. I mean, what am I going to compare Solana to outside of crypto, right? And even if I compare to other layer ones, really it's maybe, Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin at most. Everything else is simply trying to catch up to these old OG layer ones. So, in the traditional equities market, for example, you can compare Nvidia to AMD or like Intel and try to make a mall out of it, try to see if it's undervalued and maybe, predict a price. But I just don't think that's plausible in cryptocurrency, and that's just my humble opinion. So rather than predicting a price, I just try to trade the charts and see, okay, is the TA telling me just cover up the numbers on the right hand side over here and say, is the TA telling me, okay, this like the high point or the low point, and do I need to DCA in and or DCA out? And I think that's the best way to invest in cryptocurrency at this stage, which is still very early stage. All right, so how is Popcat doing? All right, well, Popcat really hasn't been doing anything, which is not a surprise because Solana also has not been doing anything. However, I still think the community is strong. Hopefully, people talk more about it, and attention equals price action to the upside. I'll be fully transparent. I'm actually not buying any more Popcat, so I just want to make that clear. I actually stopped buying more Popcat. I feel like I have enough Popcat. During this little period over here, I actually bought more Popcat than I had back in 2024. And I have so much Popcat that I don't want to hold more at this time. And I'm happy with my holdings. However, I have been buying Troll Coin nonstop. I'm very excited about this meme coin. Now, from a technical perspective, since its inception, okay, we had this one bull flag. Okay, and then with a break outside of it, retest, and then an explosive move to the upside. Now this is the second leg up. So this is when I started buying in to Trollcoin, if you guys remember, and it's forming another flag. Now there are two things going on. Okay, so here's one triangle, and here's another. Now the initial one didn't really work out because we actually broke down, retested, but eventually broke down again. But in the smaller triangle, we're actually forming another one and trying to break out of it, right? So this is the most recent candle from today. And we're trying to break out of it. And we'll see if zooming out, this is a larger triangle. If we do break out, then this could be another start of the leg to the upside. Okay, so this type of explosive movement to the upside is what I'm expecting to happen very soon. So I've been buying nonstop, and for a while, if you could get below 10 cents, it was actually great. For a while, I mean, even, arguably until today, even last night, it was, $86 million market cap. So it was a great opportunity to buy because, if this at least goes to $1 billion market cap, then there's a 10 to 1 profit to the upside. And right now, the community is strong. The meme potential is very good. And even from a TA perspective, is holding very well. And so I'm very bullish about Trollcoin. This is the one coin that I've been continually buying the dip. I'm not buying any other meme coin, full transparency. and we'll see how this coin performs. Anyways, guys, that was a long video because it's been a while. I think it's been like 2 weeks since I uploaded the video. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening in. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.